This mousepad might finally be the upgraded ZOWIE GSR that many of us have waited for. The Endgame Gear EMC is of much higher quality than the GSR, and it's also much more versatile as it does not have that much static friction. Which basically means that the overall experience will be a little bit faster. This mousepad has a pour-on base which is of course very sticky and should not move on your desk at all while you game. And the stitching is very low profile, basically below the surface, so it should not cause any discomfort when you're moving your mouse even without a gaming sleeve. Now today, many mousepads of course achieve these feats, but what makes the EMC a little bit special is the price. It's cheaper than any other pour-on based mousepads that I have found, and for example for us Finnish people, we can actually get this pad with free shipping, so it ends up costing 49 euros for us. I'm not sure how it is for the rest of the Europe and the US, but it's still for sure cheaper than the Ninja NPC and the LethalGamingGear Saturn Pro. But let's start talking about the in-game feel and how the surface actually feels with different kind of mouse feet.
There is really nothing that weird with most of these mice, so for example with the LethalGamingGear V3 Pro, the G Pro X Superlight and the LAMS version 2, this mousepad feels very controlled and nice, so optimal for tracking heavy games because there is not too much of that static friction, but still of course more optimal even for TAC FPS games because of that control. With some mice like the Pony Stormbreaker, which has 4 small feet on each corner, and these are not the best dog feet that I've tried, but with this mouse the experience is actually quite fast on this mousepad, but I haven't found that many mice actually which perform similar to the Pony Stormbreaker. The Starlight Valve is somewhat similar in the sense that 4 small feet, but it's still not really as fast as the Stormbreaker is. Overall I would call the mousepad fairly consistent among different feet, because even the ZOWIE feet feel pretty much the same as the LethalGamingGear V3 Pro feet and the Superlight feet, which is a little bit of a surprise because usually these ZOWIE feet feel quite slow. The gliding properties of the pad are very nice because it does feel quite similar to the other pour-on based control pads, for example the Zero, the Saturn Pro and the Ninja NPC, but it does have more of that static friction and more dynamic friction as well, so it should be easier for you to stop motion than it is with, for example, the Saturn Pro. The difference is not massive by any means though, but I think that this surface is actually very good for those TAC FPS games. And as I mentioned, it's still easy for you to switch directions while you're tracking, so it's very good for tracking based scenarios as well, for example like in Kovacs or Quake Champions. But of course, if you are used to faster surfaces, this might prove to be too slow for you for those tracking heavy games. But I myself prefer some friction even for tracking, so this mousepad feels very optimal. One thing to mention is the softness of the base, so this should be the same as the Artisan Zero X soft and the LethalGamingGear Saturn Pro, but because the mousepad is thinner overall, it does feel way less soft. So it's actually somewhat hard to get extra control out of the pad by applying more pressure. You can still get that control, but in game I do not really feel it, to be honest. So although this is an X-Soft base, this might be a godsend for you guys who prefer a stiffer base with your mousepad. If you just order all of the pour-on based control pads that I have right here, quite easily the Artisan Zero is the fastest one, and moving on to the next one, it's not quite as simple anymore, but in my opinion the Saturn Pro is the next fastest. It's still quite a bit slower than the Zero Mid that was the first one for me. But yeah, so the third one, and this is the interesting part, so in my opinion the Ninja NPC is a little bit slower than the Saturn Pro. It's a little less smooth, so there is a little bit more texture than on the fairly smooth Saturn Pro. And then the slowest one is going to be the Endgame Gear EMC, which is again a little bit slower than the NPC, so quite a bit slower than the Artisan Zero, but not nearly as slow as the GSR is from ZOWIE, as this mouse has quite a lot of static friction compared to any one of those mouse pads. But yeah, the EMC is now the closest pad to the GSR in terms of friction and sort of speed and control from these high quality mouse pads. But yeah, the thing is that how different is the EMC to the NPC? And these are not that different, because both of these have some of that roughness that I do like from a control pad. But yeah, I still would say that the NPC is a little bit faster than the EMC, and you can feel that the NPC is just a little bit smoother than the EMC. but it does not show that clearly through mouse feed. And the one thing that the NPC, the EMC and the GSR do have that the Saturn Pro does not have is that feedback. So the one weakness in my opinion that Saturn Pro has is that it's very smooth and provides no feedback. Especially for jack FPS and for click timing. I would want the mousepad to be a little bit rougher, but this is very nice for those tracking heavy scenarios of course. Overall, all of these mousepads are extremely good, and the EMC is a very nice addition to these high quality Poran based mousepads. So all in all, this does not provide anything new or anything that special in the sense of surface or quality or anything like that, nothing that we haven't had before, but it is cheaper than all the other high quality mousepad options that I know of, so that is of course great. Hopefully you guys liked the video. Let me know in the comment section if a high quality GSR is something you guys have been looking for, and other than that, have a great day and see you in the next video.